good, y'all? So we're a few days into free agency. A lot of the top dogs have already decided where they're going to be playing next season. They've signed their contracts. We kind of know the shape up of most teams now. So I wanted to go through and talk about some of the teams that I think have done the best throughout free agency. This is one of my favorite times of the year for basketball because it just kind of gets your brain going thinking, what would this guy look now that he's on this team playing with these guys? You know, how would that look on the court, offensively, defensively, whatever it is. I just love to really think about that. And there's been a pretty decent shakeup of the league so far, whether that's from trades or teams just signing new players. There's going to be more trades to come, I'm sure, so I'm super excited. Without further ado, though, let's take a look at the first team I want to highlight. The Sixers free agency class is, of course, headlined by Paul George himself, who got a huge bag, 4-year deal, $212 million. They also brought back Kelly Oubre on a nice deal for about $8 million a year. Andre Drummond is coming in to run some backup center for them, and they also got Eric Gordon on a minimum. The obvious reason why I really like this free agency for the Sixers is the fact that they were actually able to bring in Paul George as a free agent. They didn't have to go out and trade for him. They didn't even have to do a sign and trade where they give up like little things. They literally just got him outright, made him sign the contract, and now he is a Sixer without giving up a single thing. There's not a lot of times where teams can do that for an all-star caliber player. And a lot of people are looking at the contract and thinking that's a little bit of an overpay. You know, he is going to be making about $53 million per year, and he's on the older side. I believe this contract's going to be done when he's about 38, 39. And, you know, players, unless you're LeBron James, usually aren't all-star caliber players by that age. But overall, I really do like it. I think that when you're looking at it for the now, which obviously the Sixers are trying to compete right now, Paul George is one of the best players you could pair alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. I think that he can come in and allow Embiid and Maxey to still be able to do their thing and produce offensively while being kind of like an off-ball guy. But he also has the ability to be that on-ball third option guy where he can get you a bucket when you need. You know, Paul George, for his entire career, we've seen him as a first or second option. Now he's going to be a third option. I think that's going to be very hard for defenses to handle. He's got the catch and shoot from three, so when teams send the double at Joel, he can kick it out, knock it down. Of course, he can drive those closeouts, create his own shots, whether that's off the dribble or just, you know, getting to the rim himself. He, I think, all around offensively fits in perfectly. And I haven't even brought up his playmaking, which is well above average for his position. Last year, his assist numbers went down a little bit because James Harden was on the Clippers. He was really doing the distributing a lot. But we've seen in years past, Paul George is a very capable passer, very capable playmaker. I also really like the fact that the Sixers brought in Kelly Oubre. Last year, they got him on a minimum deal somehow. I don't know how teams let him get signed for the minimum. He had a great year being that 3-and-D wing type of player for the Sixers. So they rewarded him with a new contract. I really like the energy that he brings to the Sixers. It seems like he really plays with a lot of pride when he's on the court, and that's something that teams really do need, especially when you're a competing team trying to win a championship. You need guys like Kelly Oubre that will, you know, lock in defensively, do the little things for you while also being a very capable offensive player. The Andre Drummond deal too was very interesting to me. I was not expecting him to go back to Philly. It was one of the first signings, though, I feel like, of free agency this year. I kind of wanted my Knicks to go after Andre Drummond to be a backup center for them, but I really do like the signing for Philly because we saw in the playoffs when Joel Embiid was not on the court, oh my God, the Sixers could not do anything. They couldn't get any stops. They couldn't get any scores. I don't know the plus minus off the top of my head for the Sixers versus Knicks, but I know when Joel Embiid was not on the court, the Sixers were super, super negative. Now having Andre Drummond come out here, he's not going to put up Joel Embiid numbers. He's not going to be a crazy scorer like that, but he is an interior force. Rebounding, obviously, is his bread and butter. He's a great rebounder. He was giving Chicago great backup center minutes last season. And we know Joel Embiid is not the healthiest player out there, so I do think Andre Drummond is a good option to slot in and start some games for them when Joel does need to rest or, God forbid, he does get hurt. I think Drummond still is he has the ability. He's not a starting center, but he can kind of patch some holes together as a starting center if needed. And then getting Eric Gordon on a vet minimum is pretty good value in my opinion. He's not anywhere near the type of player he once was, but he has the ability to knock down a catch and shoot three. Like I said, with Paul George, that's very important when you're playing alongside a center as dominant as Joel Embiid, to be able to just be kicking out Catch, shoot, knock down, super important. He could do that. He can also give you a little bit off the dribble as well. I don't expect him to really be isoing out there and doing so much dribble, but as an off-ball guard, I really do like the depth. And I don't expect the Sixers to be done with free agency. There's still some guys out there, and on this roster right now, they only have 9 players. They don't have much cap space. A lot of these guys are going to be vet minimum guys that they're bringing in, but I think if they add at least one more good, solid wing player for their bench, they could be really solid. If I'm the Sixers, I'd be on the lookout for a guy like Lonnie Walker. I think if you're able to sign him to a minimum contract coming off your bench, he could give you great production. Also, other guys, maybe Chetty Osman for that wing position. Kyle Lowry's still out there. I know he was loved in Philly. The Philly native, he might be coming back. I don't think Philly is done, but what they've done so far, really do like it for them. The next team that I think has done incredible this free agency has been the OKC Thunder. Their free agency class is headlined by the $87 million man, Isaiah Hartenstein. He signed a 3-year deal for them. They also went out and traded Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso, while also giving contracts to some of their role players like Aaron Wiggins, who's making $47 million over the next 5 years, and Isaiah Joe, who's going to be making $48 million over the next 4 years. Man, was I heartbroken, no pun intended, when Isaiah Hartenstein signed with the OKC Thunder. I could tell you exactly where I was. I was at work, got the notification on my phone. I literally sat down for a second and I was like, damn, that he's really gone. He really is gone. I can't fault him though. OKC threw him a bag he cannot decline, and that's exactly what he did. He accepted that, got his $87 million. I know a lot of people are talking about the overpay of this, and if we're calling it what it is an overpay. I don't think anyone out there is going to convince you or try to convince you that Isaiah Hartenstein deserves $29 million a year. But they had the money to spend. He is damn near the perfect puzzle piece that they needed. So it makes sense for the team, and it makes sense for Isaiah. Some of the holes that OKC had last season on their roster after their breakout year was rebounding and size. Isaiah Hartenstein checks both of those boxes while also increasing one of their biggest strengths, and that's defense. Now, there's a lot of talk. Will Isaiah start next to Chet? He'll move Chet to the 4. Will he come off the bench? I don't really know, to be honest. If I'm OKC, I feel like that's a very hard decision to make, but it's a great problem to have. Either way, though, what Isaiah is going to be able to bring to OKC, like I said, rebounding, especially offensive rebounding, he is a force down low. He is also another 7-footer to put alongside Chet, whether that's, like I said, side by side with Chet running power forward and Isaiah at the center, or if he's coming off the bench, they have another 7-footer to implement into their lineup to keep that defense up, to keep that rebounding up. But whether it's guarding the pick and roll, becoming a help side rim protector, just, guarding up in the post, Isaiah can do it all defensively. And then offensively, he is an incredible passer at the center position. He's a great roller, great screener. It's going to work perfectly with a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who loves to have the basketball and work in that, mid-range off the screens. Him and Isaiah, I'm sure, are going to have an incredible 2-man role. Like I said, as a Knicks fan, I am heartbroken that Isaiah is gone, but OKC, you guys are going to love him. I already enjoyed watching you guys so much last year, so I'm still going to be able to watch my guy, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy watching you guys even more. But then when you talk about their other moves too, I already had a full video breaking down the Alex Caruso trade. If you missed out on that, make sure you go check it out on the channel after this video. But to keep it short and sweet, Caruso is one of the best role players in the NBA, one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. He can shoot the 3 ball pretty well, connective passer. I think he's going to be able to fit perfectly. A lot of the same things I said with Isaiah can be said about Alex Caruso. Offensively, he's going to be able to fit in that free-flowing system. Defensively, he's going to cause havoc for the opponents. Perfect fit right there, and they only gave up Josh Giddey. And then the new deals for Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe. I love both of these deals for both the players and the teams. They get paid, they get their long-term security to stay in OKC. And OKC gets 2 very high-quality role players to stay on their team. I am a big Aaron Wiggins fan. I think he is one of the most underrated role players in the NBA. Defensively, he is always going to get after it. Offensively, it seems like he's always just in the right place at the right time. Last year, halfway through the season, I think he was shooting like 60% from 3 or something like that off catch and shoots. Just an incredible all-around role player, a guy that you would want on your team. And then Isaiah Joe coming off their bench as their spark plug 3-point shooter. He can just catch fire at any moment and just light it up. I love all the moves that OKC has made so far. They went from an incredibly fun and young team to watch that has, some high aspirations to now one of the top tier contending teams in the NBA. That's still going to be incredibly fun to watch. And the last team that I wanted to talk about are the reigning Western Conference champion Dallas Mavericks. Their big move was getting Klay Thompson in a sign and trade. They also traded away Tim Hardaway Jr. for Quentin Grimes, and then signed Naji Marshall to a $27 million deal over the next 3 years. I know a lot of people are pretty low on Klay Thompson right now, considering last time we saw him play basketball. Everyone is very quick to remind you that he went 0 for 10 in that game. And yeah, bad game by Klay, down season from Klay too. But he still was damn near a 40% three-point shooter on like 9+ attempts per game. He is still an incredible player and an incredible shooter. And the fact that the Mavs were able to get him for just Josh Green and a second-round pick is pretty good. And he's on a very team-friendly deal, in my opinion, only making about $16 million a year for the next 3 years. Pretty good for Klay Thompson's production. As we saw in the finals, the biggest thing that really hurt the Mavericks was the fact that they were not able to knock down a three-point shot. If your name was not Luka Doncic, you weren't going to be able to knock down a three-point shot in the finals. And now they bring in Klay Thompson, in my opinion, the second, maybe third, we'll give him best shooter of all time, especially off the catch and shoot. I don't know if there's anyone that does it better than Klay Thompson. And when you have guys like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving that are going to be getting so much attention with the basketball in their hands, to be able to have a guy like Klay Thompson just spotting up or coming off a pin down screen or whatever it is, to have a guy like Klay Thompson and his shooting ability and gravity, it's going to be great for the Mavericks. And I think a big reason they were fine with including Josh Green in this sign and trade deal was obviously they're getting the better player in Klay Thompson, but they were also able to acquire Quentin Grimes while only giving up Tim Hardaway Jr. and 2 second-round picks. I feel like that's incredible value. Josh Green and Quentin Grimes are very similar players, if you ask me. Both guys are going to be very scrappy defensively. Both guys can be kind of streaky shooters. I would say Quentin Grimes is a better shooter overall. He had a down year this season with the Knicks and with Detroit, but overall I would say he is, I'm confident in saying he's a good shooter. So I really like that acquisition. They're able to kind of just swap out similar players but upgrade them. Quentin Grimes might not get you a bunch of steals or a bunch of blocks or force of turnovers or whatever, but he is really good at staying in front of his man. A lot of people kind of overlook that aspect of defense. They look straight to the box score or straight to the advanced stats or whatever, but Quentin Grimes is great at shifting his feet and staying in front of his man. So I think coming off the bench, he's going to be a great 3-and-D guy. I feel like any type of shooter, when you play with Luka, your attributes go up a little bit. Well, I mean, maybe not, because we just saw what happened in the finals. But like I said, I think Quentin Grimes, I'm confident in the fact that he is a good shooter for his career. And again, when you play with Luka, it's only going to be good things. And then the last guy they brought on was Naji Marshall, who was kind of the Derrick Jones Jr. replacement. I really like this pickup because, like Derrick Jones, he is a good defender. Derrick Jones Jr. is probably a little quicker and better laterally, for those smaller guards or those smaller wings. But I really do like Naji Marshall's defensive versatility. And I also like the fact that while both of them are very low volume three-point shooters, Naji Marshall has shown that he can knock down the three. And when it was announced that the Pelicans were likely to let Naji Marshall walk in free agency, I put out a tweet saying Naji Marshall could be a very high impactful player on a contending team. If you don't follow me on Twitter, make sure you do. It's right in the description. But I feel like the Mavericks are one of the perfect teams that I was thinking of when I said Naji Marshall can make a high impact on this team. They're going to be contending again. As we saw, they were just in the finals last season. And I think Naji Marshall could be a big part of that from coming off their bench. And before I end the video, I just want to quickly highlight a few of my other favorite signings from free agency so far. First off, Chris Paul to the Spurs on a 1-year, $11 million contract. I absolutely love this move. The biggest thing that everyone in the NBA world was thinking when watching the Spurs last season was they need to get Wemby the ball, and they don't have a true point guard to do that. Chris Paul is damn near the perfect guy to just spoon feed someone. I'm sure you guys have seen all the memes where it's like Wemby's saying, hey, I need the ball, and then Chris Paul's like, I got you, buddy, and then he will just give him the ball. I feel like it's going to be like that exactly. But I like this move way beyond that, the fact that, you know, he's going to be able to give Wemby the ball. I just think having a player that has the basketball IQ like Chris Paul around all of these young guys, it's going to work wonders. Obviously, they're already around another amazing basketball mind of Greg Popovich. But having Chris Paul on the team now, I feel like he's going to act as almost like a player coach out there, considering he's going to be so much older than a lot of these players. I think a lot of them are going to have respect for him and almost see him as like that player coach aspect. But guys like Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, Wemby, of course, all guys that I think can really benefit being around a guy like Chris Paul, just giving him tips and tricks and all that. I feel like this team, it's going to be a lot like the OKC team when Chris Paul was first there. Obviously, Chris Paul is not the same player he once was, and I don't think that the Spurs are going to make the playoffs like that OKC team did, but I'm getting similar vibes right there, and I'm really excited to watch them. KCP to the Magic is also a deal that I really like. You know, the Magic were one of the worst three-point shooting teams last season. Now they're bringing in one of the best catch-and-shoot three-point threats in the league. Also, defensively, he's going to be able to buy into that Magic defense and really improve it even more than what it once was. Really, like, perfect fit, in my opinion, for the Magic right here. It's going to help space the floor for Franz and Paolo. And then DeLon Wright to the Bucks, I really do like as well. We saw it was a glaring issue last season. They had no point of attack defenders, especially for those guards. They got Drew Holiday traded away for the Damian Lillard trade, and they had no one to replace him. Now DeLon Wright is going to be out there. Obviously, he's not Drew Holiday level, but he is still incredibly good, and hopefully he can get that Milwaukee defense back on track. What did you guys think of free agency, though, so far? What team do you think has done the best? And what is your favorite individual signing? My favorite, I guess I'll give it to the Chris Paul to the Spurs. I think that's incredible. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.